Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Elevate. My name is Jessica.
My name is Jarwin.
Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about some situation we're not dealing with anymore, but we were dealing midweek.
This air quality though. What's up with this?
It was crazy. Everybody was sort of kind of freaking out.
For real.
We never had experienced anything like that here in New York. And I'm sure many of you have already seen in the news or on social media people talking about it and how certain areas were affected. I believe Pennsylvania, Boston, New York, Connecticut, all that region was pretty much affected by the smoke. And it was crazy. Yeah. I looked outside. At first, I didn't know what was happening on Tuesday because this started happening on Tuesday. And I just thought it was like going to rain. Like, it was kind of grayish. The day, it kind of looked weird.
I don't think you went outside that day. For me, it looked like very foggy. But I thought it was fog. I remember
you saying over the phone, it looks weird outside.
Yeah.
But I didn't really think much of it. I just thought, oh, maybe it's going to rain or something.
I don't think I was aware of the fires at that point.
No.
And I also would have not said like, hey, Canada fires are in Yonkers.
Right. You never would have thought that something like that would get so far, like the smokes. And so whatever, we really didn't think much on Tuesday, but we were getting the alerts on our phones about poor quality, air quality. And for me, I just thought maybe, like the summer is about to come and sometimes you get those alerts, but for different reasons. But no, then Wednesday came around and I'm at home, I work from home and all of a sudden I look outside and it looks orange.
For real.
It legit looked orange like outside. And I was just like, and then the phone, kept saying like poor air quality alert. And then I started hearing about, the Canadian fires that were going on, and I opened the window slightly because some people, like I was talking to my comadre on the phone about it, once I started finding out Wednesday morning, and she said she could smell it, and she's in Connecticut.
I mean, that day over here was crazy, and we walked to the corner. That's when we was having that meeting, and like once you stepped outside, like you can smell, like it smelled like
burned wood.
Yeah, like a campfire type of thing.
And so I was like, what? You can smell it? She's in Connecticut. Mind you, she's in Connecticut. And I'm in New York. And so I slightly opened the window because it looks orange outside. Yeah. It looked smoky outside. And you could literally smell like the fire and whatever particles were in the air, which they were alerting a lot of the sensitive people to, wear masks or stay indoors as much as possible because the quality of the air was very bad for anybody in the sensitive groups, anybody with heart problems, asthma, that kind of stuff.
Now, you just mentioned mask, and I think I brought this up to Roden. I was like, isn't it crazy that this happens, right? And it just so happens that everybody has access to a mask.
Yeah, that it was something normal that we at some point were kind of doing. Yeah.
But what I mean is like, is it a coincidence? I'm not trying to go into conspiracy.
Stop it.
But I'm serious though. Like before 2020, like we would have probably
you could have gotten a mask. I mean, it wasn't something normal.
No, everybody would have been in the store, like running to get a mask. Who the hell had a mask at home?
Yeah, but a lot of people weren't really using the mask for the smoke. They really weren't.
Yeah,
unless there were people who were concerned, I guess, for their health or they have like prior, health conditions. I told you to wear one on Tuesday because it was smoky out there. It didn't feel safe to breathe outside, to be honest, to be smelling that. But anyways, there was a ton of people jumping into conclusions online. I could see it already. It was getting toxic online. I was like, okay, everybody was already jumping into, the conspiracy theories and, is that really the smoke from Canada that's coming over here? What are they really putting in our air and all that kind of stuff? I don't really want to believe any of that. I really don't.
People be bugging. They be like, yo, they pressed the button.
Yeah, seriously. And I get it because it's something that's new. We've never really dealt with that over here on this side.
Honestly, I didn't even know Canada got fires like that. I thought that was like a Cali thing.
Apparently they do, but it seems to be more out of control this year. So from the last time, guys, don't really quote me on all this stuff. I'm not an expert on like wildfires or anything.
I sure as hell ain't no expert.
But I'm trying to like inform myself a little bit about these topics because obviously it's gonna be affecting a lot of us.
Yeah.
And we've never seen anything like that here in New York. I think since like 1960s. I believe they said. So I don't know what's happening back then that we had that poor of an air quality, but it's been a very, very long time. Yeah. And so I was researching.
Oh, I think you're talking about fires in New York. You're talking about the air quality.
Right, being that poor.
Well, probably when it was like all of them factories were being built. Remember, there's not as much factories.
I don't know. I don't really dig into why back then they had that.
For sure, it has to be that.
Okay. So, I started like digging into a little bit like how many fires are going on in Canada that we got to smoke all the way here in New York. And so obviously the factor of people need to really think about how these things work before they start jumping into conclusions of things being spread in the air, in my opinion, because obviously there's a factor of the wind. And so the wind was blowing our way. And so all that fire or the smoke was blowing into our area. And so the last time I checked online, it said there were 414 active fires across the country, across Canada, and 239 of them were out of control.
And the wind was blowing south.
Out of control. I don't even want to picture that. Out of control fires. There's a total of, I don't know how many there are right now, but there was a total of 414. That's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I was really blown away by that number, because sometimes a lot of us just go on about our lives when these things aren't really affecting us on a daily. But that's a little scary. And so I know in certain regions of the world, depending on how dry the climate is, they're more prone to fires. Like, for example, in California, they're used to having fires.
I mean, I think at one point we was like really considering like, oh, maybe we should move to Cali. And I think that was one of the main ones that was like, wait a minute, fires? Like the earthquake, okay. But
fire.
Excuse the sirens.
I know that California is pretty big, so I know probably not everyone gets affected by that, but I wouldn't want to live in a state that's like a probability.
Yeah. Rather deal with the snow right now.
But with the change in climate, it's like I just don't even know how the weather and the climate is really going to change, because climate change is really about how the climate in the world is changing, and some of it is going to get hotter or, colder. I don't know. They're making predictions as to how the way we fill up the earth with filth, or like garbage and, fossil fuels, and how all this stuff is negatively impacting the world to the point where it's affecting climate.
Yeah.
So, it's very easy to just sit back and say, I'm just not going to think about it. I'm not going to really, whatever, like if it happens, it happens. But honestly, I think we should all take a step back and just think, you're not going to be able to change absolutely everything. And all the control isn't in your hands. Yeah. But if we all collectively, in some way, shape or form, chip in, we should be able to make somewhat of a difference.
And I think a lot of, like, since we kind of talk about real estate here and there's a lot of new landlords and developers that are actually going with like all electric buildings. And not like before that they will use boilers and stuff like that. I don't know if it's mandatory or it's just more cost effective to the landlord, to the builder, or they actually care about
the environment.
Hopefully it's a little bit of both. But because even our building is fully electric.
Right. I think that going forward, I think we should have been doing this a long time ago. I've always had this in the back of my mind, ever since they really started, talking a lot about climate change. I'm not an expert in that area or anything, but I have watched certain documentaries that talk about it. And, I do care about the future of the planet. Like, we all live here. We should all care.
It's only one planet.
Right. And we should all care about its well-being. Because we need, a healthy environment to live in. And so I've always had it in the back of my mind. But now I think going forward, I'm going to be even more strongly in favored for those things that protect our world.
So what you're saying is you're a fan of Elon Musk?
For sure. No, I like people that talk about it. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I just don't see why not. Why not do something? Let's say that climate change isn't really a thing and it's just a political talk like many people like to think about. Let's say that is true. What's the worst that happens if we try to do green things and, you know?
That money revolves around oil.
Oh, so that's why some people.
Yeah. So if we're not using oil, because we're switching to let's say electricity, everything run by solar and all that. Imagine this economy without people using gas to fill up their car, and everything's just green because people need to charge.
So who would that affect?
What do you mean? Who would affect? Everybody. Like oil is money.
Now you're making me think about something else.
That it is political.
I mean, for sure. I mean, if you think,
it's definitely political.
If you think about it from that perspective, of course. But as a whole, can't we just come together for the better of the world?
That is, you're an amazing person. I will.
But that's something that. But it's in my opinion, that's something that's an emergency, because whether you have money or not, it's gonna affect you.
It is, but I feel like some people.
How are you gonna run away from, you know, a hurricane or you know, these catastrophes, wildfires that keep happening if we don't.
The thing is that they say that global warming, like a real bad event, is like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years from now.
And so we shouldn't care because we're not.
But that's the way they kind of look at it. Like, oh, we kind of just figure it out as we go. But they're not just going to say, hey, everything is electric going forward.
I don't like that idea.
I mean, it's like capitalism.
I just feel like that's I'm all for capitalism. I'm grateful for capitalism, but I just feel that sometimes us humans can be very selfish. Because how is it that you're going to be like, oh, that's going to happen hundreds and hundreds of years from now, so it's not really going to affect me. So you don't care about future generations is what you're telling me?
Pretty much.
That's crazy.
That I think is just that they have not figured out a way to actually monetize like electricity, because at that point, every country could sustain itself if we switch into solar and electric and battery.
Wouldn't that be a good thing?
Yes and no, because
I guess
then
power, it's not a
exactly.
Good thing.
Like who has the upper hand? Because now the sun is the ultimate holder of the money. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. That's sad. But this is why I feel like, okay, forget about what any of the big people who are being, you know, selfish about this really think. I think it's up to us, the people, to really take it into our own hands and say, you know, I'm going to be a good citizen, and I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to try to leave this world as clean as I can possibly leave it.
But it's like easy to say, but it's extremely difficult because like think about New York, right? Forget about the cars. Let's just talk about the buildings and the real estate in New York. Like all these buildings that are hundreds and hundreds of years old usually run on gas and on oil, right? And boilers. Like how do them buildings, you can't just go in and say, hey, we're going to go electric.
Okay, fine.
But you can't break them down, and you also can't build because there's no space to build.
Oh, fine. That's I guess one of the biggest things that we probably won't get a handle of that individually. But for example, I just went down this thing of, okay, why are these fires happening? And so
gender reveals.
What?
Nah, that was, I don't know if you ever saw that there was a gender reveal in Cali, and that it started a whole fucking fire everywhere. Because they did I think it was like fireworks.
That's what people were talking about.
It was like a very long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I was researching why are these so many fires happening? And it says rising temperatures, prolonged droughts, and changing rain patterns are making North America's forest more prone to fire. But it says some of the things that we can do as individuals to help the climate change crisis is save energy at home. So that's something that we have total control over. Like we can buy LED light bulbs and buy appliances and washing machines or laundry.
But again, it's one of the things that I feel like is easier said than done. Because
That's very easy, babe.
It's easy for you because you can afford it. But some people can't just go out and be like, hey, I'm going to buy this energy effective LED freaking efficient.
Is it that expensive?
It's way more expensive. Not light bulb. I'm talking about like a washing machine and a stove. That if the landlord is not providing, like, it's not easy for the majority of people to just go out and buy something that's.
I think that's a bunch of crap. People buy things that they don't really. People, if they want to, they will. If you care enough.
But that's the thing. Like, most people don't.
Well, we should care, is what I'm saying. We should.
But somebody who's 70 don't care about what's gonna happen 500 years from now.
Sad.
It is, but how do you? I mean,
I can't picture myself feeling that way, even if I'm 70.
Bro, people don't even. They could be a trash can in the corner, and people will throw the garbage right here.
You know what? I'm
not arguing. I'm just giving you like, you understand.
I understand. But I want to believe that there's a lot of people who want to.
There probably is, but it's kind of like health. Let's talk about health and food.
You know, it's important that.
But wait, there's health and food, right? They're talking about everybody. Oh, the U.S. or I don't know if it's New York. Is like everybody's obese, including me, and like everybody's like diabetic. But then you go to the stores and everything that's healthy is extremely expensive.
Yeah, it is.
So it's the same thing when it comes to being like energy efficient.
Yeah, but that's different because growing grocery shopping is something you have to do every 2 weeks, if not on a monthly basis. A light bulb is like once. And
bro,
how long? Those LED
but that's
lights
even
last
easier because most of that's produce. Like that shit comes from the ground, water, and the sun. Like, how is that more expensive than something that you have to actually process and put chemicals?
No. I understand that. What I'm saying is it's easier for you to buy, let's say, an appliance or a light bulb or, you know, just make sure you're being as energy efficient in your home than it is to buy healthy food because healthy food is something you have to do on a monthly basis. You have to continuously do it consecutively for too many times, you know, during a year. But something as buying an energy efficient, you know, washing machine or buying LED light bulbs is something that maybe might cost you a little more, but in the long run, you need to think about it as something that's helping the planet. That's how I feel about that. They also talk about how like you should try to, this one's a hard one, try to use less public transportation. And it's like, that's something that's not possible. I just cut mine down. Oh, yeah. But that's something that's, especially where we live, it's not really possible because it's like you need to get to work. You need to go. Some people don't work very close to their home, so they have to either drive or take a bus or a train. And it says like bike. Like that's honestly, that's not realistic. But I guess what they mean is if you can bike somewhere or you can walk somewhere, do it instead of using a vehicle that's using fuel. Which technically in the long run is beneficial to us as well because it will help our health, honestly.
Yeah, but you can't even park your bike outside. People will steal it.
You're negative Nancy today.
No, right? I'm giving you. It can't just be like, yeah, we agree. Like, no, it's the truth. So it's like now you just rode your bike all the way to freaking Manhattan and then they stole your wheel and you can't get back up to Westchester.
Get out of here with that.
And now you got to take your public transportation all the way back up here. And you got to buy a new bike. So you don't got money to buy a new LED bulbs.
I can't. Thank you for giving the negative input of everybody who's going to say negative things about what I'm saying.
For real. They got to think like, yo, this dude is mad negative. I'm just trying to challenge.
No, but I understand. Yeah. I'm sure people will say things like that.
Well, people do think that way.
It says eat more vegetables.
We can because it's more expensive. That's what I was just saying.
Eating more vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts and seeds, and less meat and dairy can significantly lower your environmental impact. Producing plant-based foods generally results in fewer greenhouse gas emissions and require less energy, land, and water. That one blew me away.
But that's what I'm saying. They contradicted themselves. Like, so why is that type of food more expensive?
Yeah, they should make it more accessible. Agreed.
Why is 3 plátanos almost $2, but you could buy like a whole box of mac and cheese for $1? Like how does
It
that
makes
even
sense. Yeah. And this goes into, the whole,
like they
nutrition
paying
problem we have in America going on, the obesity and all
bro,
that.
they paying freaking marketing, they paying the people to do the boxes, they people to do the design on the boxes, the workers, the people that ship it, the fake cheese. I don't get it.
Yeah. It kind of just forces you, like, it's almost like if you don't have that type of money, which we know there's certain people who don't have that type of money, and they literally, even if they want to eat healthier, they just can't afford to eat healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty sad.
For real.
What else it says? Consider your travel. Throw away less food is something that we can do, because then the food says when you throw away food, you're also wasting the resources and energy that were used to grow, produce, package, and transport it. And when food rots in a landfill, it produces methane, a powerful greenhouse gas. So use what you buy and compost any leftovers. It says reduce, reuse, repair, and recycle, which we are very familiar with. I think that's one of the things that's very, talked about, like recycling.
Why don't they ban cigarettes?
Because there's companies behind those cigarettes that make money.
Exactly.
So ultimately,
that has to be so much pollution.
Ultimately, is up to us to make healthy choices.
That's mad pollution. Mad secondhand smoking.
For real. Unnecessary. It's unhealthy for the environment, and unhealthy for the person smoking it, unhealthy for the person around it. There's literally no benefit.
Like, yo, why can't we solve lung cancer? Why can't we figure out a cure? Bro, just stop producing tobacco. How much more people will not suffer from like lung disease if they're not smoking?
For sure. For sure. Another thing is change your home source of energy.
And by the way, if you smoke, that's totally fine with me.
Yeah,
but
it's not good. It's not good. And we have to say the things, we have to say it how it is.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Change your home source energy. So, some people are using solar panels now. I think definitely if I have a home and I can afford it, let's see, I don't even know how much that really costs to install, but that's definitely something I would look into.
Even like production lights, like our video lights, they're all like LED. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like before that it was, I think, like fluorescent lights that was like really hot and took a lot of energy. Like all the lights now are like LED bulbs. They're very strong too. Yeah.
Which is great. And then it says switch to an electric vehicle, which I think ultimately
you just need more money and a positive attitude.
That would be the best thing for us to do collectively, whenever.
What's up? Let's buy a Tesla.
Let's go. So, yeah, these are some of the things that we can do to help. Because I hate to be the person who talks about a problem and just sits and nags about, oh, my God, and just seeing, the cup half empty instead of saying, okay, this is happening. Why is it happening? And what can I do about it? I don't like to be that person to just sit back, relax, and talk about everything I don't like without finding a solution or something I can do personally to make it better.
Yeah. I mean, even now, like after like we moved to our building, which is all electric, even going into our home, whenever we buy a home, I mean, unless it's like something that like absolutely can't be done, which I doubt, like most likely, or everything would just be electric. Like I don't see like you using gas as an option.
Me either.
Yeah.
Especially knowing that it's something that is harming our environment like that. Like, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
So all this information, I got from the Natural Resource Defense Council. You guys can look into it as well. But, there's a lot of information online of things that we can do to kind of help climate change. And I think it's something that we should all be very aware of and be very conscious about. And even if you can't do everything I said on that list, if you do 1, 2, 3 things on that list, and if we all start doing 1, 2, 3 things on that list, it should be able to help.
Add up.
Right. It would add up. I think that it would help tremendously. So I like to think that I'm conscious about those things because I have children and I want my children to have a world that's nice and clean, and I want to give them a world that's better than when I got it. I don't want them to have to suffer the consequences of something that they didn't even do.
Yeah.
So I think we all, especially if you have children, we all should be very conscious about the things that we're doing that are causing harm to our earth.
That's about it. Let's wrap it up.
You wrapping it up?
Bro, I'm leaving that in.
No. All right.
I'm leaving this in.
No, you're not.
I am.
No, you're not. You really aren't. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right, that's it for today's episode, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Let us know your opinions about this topic. Do you believe in climate change? Do you not? If you do, what are some of the things that you do to try to help climate change? Were you one of the people who were talking about conspiracy theories when we were having, all this smoke in New York City? Let us know your thoughts down below. We are very open. We do not discriminate against different opinions. This is a very safe space for all of us to talk our minds. And yeah, we would love to know how you feel about all of this. And that's it for today's episode, you guys. If you're here on YouTube, don't forget to give us a like, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit the bell so you can be notified every time we post a video. If you are on any of our audio platforms, don't forget to leave us your reviews. And until next time.
Peace.